There's a call from the bank. Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Taylor Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Taylor makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, passion for people, Taylor is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
Join us on Facebook and Instagram at sparkfmonline.com.
What's up, everybody? This is James Jimmy Hills, host of Java with Jimmy on Spark FM Online. Make sure you tune in every Monday and every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Also, follow Java with Jimmy on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget to go to Spark FM Online and download the app. Listen to Spark FM Online 24/7.
Igniting the airwaves. Spark FM.
Spark FM. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up and about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I am really excited because I've been following her for so long. And of course, I think I know a little bit. So some of the jewels she dropped, I'm like, say it, sis. And then other ones, I'm like, damn, I didn't even know. And so Kara, Roselle?
Yep. Roselle. Mm-hmm.
I'll butcher her name, but I just want to make sure I say it right. Is a Black and Indigenous New Yorker, and she voices the process of unlearning and seeking justice for her tribe, the Chappaquiddick. Oh, I'm on a roll today. Wampanoag through social media. Her passion for social justice and design have led her to create a handful of graphics and resources which have reached millions of people, and she is now the host and founder of Made by Many podcasts. She's created a space for conversations surrounding influences and injustices. Offline, she also works to secure land reparations and recognition for her ancestors. This conversation is super important because, and I actually named this conversation, Are You Black or Are You Indigenous? Because that was one of the, I think it was I'm old. I think it was one of the Snapchats that you made. Not Snapchat, what's the other one?
Oh, TikTok.
See that I aged myself. But it was just like, are you Black or are you Indigenous? And it really has a lot of people wondering, like, we don't know our heritage. We don't know where our ancestors hail from. And a lot of us only know great grandma, and that's the end of that. And so what is that, like the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s? And then after that, a lot of us have no clue. And so when they're having a conversation about reparations, we don't even know where we fall, because do I get my Indian number or do you give me my Black reparations? Like, you owe me something. I just don't know which one. And so without any further ado, I just want to say thank you for your time, because I know you are busy educating the world. What got you into, like, first wanting to tell the truth about who we are?
Yeah, of course. So I think my introduction to this was my mom, and just the knowledge that she accumulated over time. For a while, she was really passionate about research, and she was our tribal historian. She's now the Songsk of our tribe, which is like the woman sachem or leader. But what really got me motivated to kind of tell these truths and to try to educate myself and other people was, like you said, like, we don't, like, so many people are unaware of their heritage, unrightfully so. They took that away from us. And I think that it's important to reclaim that, and thinking about my younger self and thinking about all of the younger and older people out there, just trying to be a voice for that and trying to show people that it's okay to embrace your identity. Because I feel like I was navigating and felt very insecure growing up because it wasn't something that I knew. It wasn't something that I felt proud of. So I want to change that going forward.
And so your mother being a historian,
Mhm.
that put you, you probably read a lot of books, learned a little bit, but what made you want to teach other people?
I think what made me want to teach other people was realizing that realizing that there are so many other people that have this heritage that don't know what their lineage is, and trying to be like the start of the doorway into that discovery for them. Because I was really, it was me learning so much and feeling empowered and feeling so interested in what the knowledge that I was gaining and wanting to share that with other people. So it's just like me learning and wanting to kind of regurgitate that back.
Who's behind you on the wall, this picture?
Yes, this is that is a great grandmother of mine on my father's side, or on my mom's father's side, so my grandfather's grandma.
Mm-hmm. Let's say, for instance, you may not know the answers to this question, but let's say, for instance, I have no idea who my great grandmother is, or like I was adopted. I don't know. Everybody say I got Indian in my family because I got long hair, but
Yeah.
I this is not me. I'm just saying, for instance, for the listeners,
Hypothetically, yeah.
yeah, people want to go ahead and get their blood tested, but I have not seen an indigenous owned, indigenous purpose
Hmm.
blood checker. What's it called? DNA and Me, 23andMe, all of those.
Yeah.
I have not found somebody who is like, we specifically are tailored for the indigenous, because everybody else is just like, we're going to test your DNA. Oh, you're African. You come from Nigeria. There's a little Somalian in you. Of course, they want to put you over there, because if you are originated from America, that means we got to pay you something. We got to figure out your numbers. And so, first question, do you know of an indigenous friendly company that one could use? And two, like, I don't trust anybody else until there's an indigenous friendly company. I'm not getting nothing tested.
I agree. I understand that totally. I actually do not know of an indigenous friendly company. That's going to be on my radar though, because I think that, like you, so many people have that same stance and want to feel like they can trust people with their DNA and with their, like their specimen. But I would say, so yeah, with DNA is interesting because blood quantum in and of itself is kind of like a racist and like white colonial construct. It was made to divide people. It was made to say like, you're not enough native for us to give you reparations. Like, you're mixed, you're the one drop kind of rule. But I think that my mom has had a lot of success and used, it's not DNA testing, but like ancestry.com to kind of connect with other people and trace people back. And I've gotten asked this question quite a few times, like on Instagram and on TikTok, because so many people are like, where do I start? Or like, how can I really dig into my roots? And I know from talking with my mom, like there are different historical censuses that you can try to like determine or see if you're related to anybody on. And for like a lot of Northeastern tribes, I believe it's the John Milton Earl report that has a lot of people from like the 1800s. And
Say that again. Who?
John Milton Earl report, and it's Earl, Earle.
You got that, Jules? Shout out to the intern in the building. John
Milton Earl.
Yeah. You found it? John Earl Milton? Okay. Let's keep that, because I do want to give resources to those that are willing to figure out there. So when it comes to my father's side, we know that the last name is Moore. And when you trace back the Moors are the Moors. And so I don't know if we're one of those. The way the DNA is set up and the way the men in my life are, I would not be surprised, but we don't know for certain. And that is a rabbit hole that I do want to go down. And so I can imagine that there are probably millions of other Americans that want to know whether or not their origin is East or West African, or whether they were natives here. And so a lot of people don't know, like, when you think of Native American, you think of what society has told you and what the Westerns have showed you. And it's like a lighter skinned or a darker skinned white person that just been tanning and red,
like
right?
high
The tan.
cheekbones, long hair,
Yeah.
that whole bit.
Mhm. So what I don't think, it's not a question. They were black. That's what I'm trying to get to. They were like, when you look at photographs of actual natives that were taken when photographs first came out, and they were like, listen, these Indians around the country that scalping folks, this is what they look like. And they look like black people. How did we get from black people to now what we now considered $5 Indians that literally look like they've been burnt a little bit by the sun?
You know, so this is something that comes up a lot on my platforms too. And I personally, I do not claim to know the entire lineage or the history of that. There are thousands of years that we do not know, but I am familiar with from like 1600s on. And I mean, it's true, like so many, the monolithic idea that Western culture has given us of what natives look like is not true. And so many, there's so much diversity in appearance from tribes like the Inuit going west and like northwest in Canada, all the way spread to the northeast, like to the Wampanoags. And I think it's like Wampanoags did have broader features. Wampanoags did appear darker. Some people had kinkier hair. And I mean, really what it is like, we can't subscribe to the monolithic idea of what a Native American person is or what a Native American person looks like.
And so everything that I learned is not true. And there are diversities. And I don't know if this is a valid, I mean, no disrespect, but in my ignorance, I have a question about why Alaskans and Central and South Americans look Asian. If that's a question that you can't answer.
I don't think so. I'm not like a studied historian on that region, so I can't confidently answer it, but I can tell you what my idea is, which is just really, I mean, just thinking about the travel patterns and the geographical location of those tribes, right? And so thinking, well, first, the people, you mentioned the people that are like in the South, right? Or in South America. I mean, thinking about the migration of like Asia over to like the land shelves in Alaska down through that western coast of what is the Americas, and seeing that migration happen like thousands of years ago, and that those features migrated with those people. And like, this isn't the specific question that you asked, but seeing the Wampanoag people and seeing that on the eastern shores, understanding that they don't look traditionally native or like lighter or darker white people, understanding that people, the Wampanoags and specifically people on Martha's Vineyard Island, had a lot of intermarrying going on with Black people. And so our features developed from that type of relationship. But there is like a whole history behind different tribes. I can't really speak for the Western coast because that is not my heritage. I have not really studied that too much, but I mean, that's a great question, but I think it has to do a lot with like geography and how people migrated long ago.
Mm-hmm. And so we know it as Martha's Vineyard, but what was the original name of the island that was used as a prison?
The original name was Noepe, and that's Noepe.
Noepe.
And it means like land amid the waters or streams.
And what is the history of Martha's Vineyard?
Sure. So the Martha's Vineyard, before it was colonized, before settlers came over, was inhabited by the Wampanoag people. And that was like the Aquinnah, the Herringbone tribe, the Chappaquiddick tribe. I believe there were a few others that kind of just like melded into our two tribes, and those are like the larger groups that were left. But yeah, we were the Wampanoag people, or like known as people of the first light, because we're on the eastern shore. So when the sun rises, like we're getting the first light of the sun.
What Wampanoag means? Our first light.
Yeah. And so that was our tribe. That was our tribe name. And in the I need to get this date right. I'll get it right. But in the early 1600s, settlers came over, and there was something known as King Philip's War, which was a battle on the mainland. And I think it's important to distinguish, while there was so much erasure and awful things happening with colonization, for the most part, I don't want to say things were civil, because colonization is never civil, but the Wampanoags on the island seem to have less of a difficult time than the Wampanoags on the mainland when colonization first happened. And our tribe, Mashpee is our sister tribe on the mainland. They were the tribe that welcomed the colonizers for the first Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm.
So Massachusetts in itself is a native word.
Yes, it is. I think it means like land, like of the hills, something about a hill.
Do you speak the language?
I don't. There's actually a language reclamation project happening that's head by, I believe, somebody in the Mashpee tribe. And it's a little bit, there's, of course, kind of different relationships in politics with tribes, just like there are with governments in the world today. But we're working on hopefully getting to be a part of that project and getting to be enrolled to learn the language, something that's welcomed for natives of the tribe.
And so, since your mom was the historian, so like, what if I think I'm Wampanoag, but I don't know? How would I go about finding out?
Sure. I think that the best way may be identifying, well, just seeing how far back you can trace. So you said, like who your great grandpa was, right? Or grandfather, kind of identifying what side you think the Wampanoag may come from, and just kind of writing those names down. And honestly, just giving the tribe or my mom, somebody or the person who does our rolls, a call and say, hey, I think this is a person that's native in my family tree. Does this name identify with anybody who's on like your role, or who you identify as a person that branches out and makes somebody kind of a member of the tribe, and going from there.
Mm-hmm. And so what does it mean to have my number? What does it mean to have or is that a fake thing? Or is that doesn't exist?
I don't think it's fake. I think it's maybe just like an idea, a deal. But just to be enrolled in a tribe, really I think that there are benefits either way, but the most benefits come from being enrolled in a tribe that's federally recognized, right? So that means that you have access to probably some sort of reduced or free healthcare. That means you have educational perks. That means that you may or may not have access to land or reservation lands, and just more access and more respect in the regard of getting land back or land reclamation. So I think that there are perks in that respect. But whether or not the tribe is federally recognized or not, we're actually still in the process of becoming federally recognized, which is a process.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're asking how we're still working towards that, correct?
No, how do we know the history that we know about I feel like we have a lot of history here in Massachusetts about the Wampanoag tribe.
Yeah.
How are you guys still not federally recognized when the state of Massachusetts, it was in our history book? I remember reading in history about the Wampanoag tribe for a representative that came out to the school. We had so for those who do not know, in middle school, I went to PCIS, Plymouth Intermediate, something, I don't remember. But we had an entire quote unquote teepee set up in our front yard for like the entire month of November while we learned about the Wampanoag tribe. And in our history books, the state had to clear that. And so the state recognizes it. So how are you still federally 20 years after my middle school trying to figure out whether or not you guys are valid enough to be recognized?
Yeah, so I'll break it down. I'm going to try to break it down into a really digestible thing. So you learned about the Wampanoag, and within the Wampanoag Nation, there are separate tribes, and that include, like, I'll say the two main ones that are federally recognized, the Mashpee, the Aquinnah. And they're larger tribes. They were always kind of practicing since colonization happened. And the Chappaquiddick, we were off kind of on our own like separate island on Martha's Vineyard. And when colonization happened, we really got the short end of the stick with land allotments. We were the first hit because we're the easternmost part of the island. And so experiencing that first, we really got like the short end of the stick, so to speak. And we, over time, after intermarrying, after losing different land titles based on like land laws that were kind of racist, kind of sneaky, a lot of people were fearful of practicing their native traditions and didn't really have the land to stay on the island. And since our tribe kind of got a little bit more disheveled, there was a period where people were like, the government didn't recognize that we were practicing our traditions. And one of the kind of requirements in federal recognition is that you have to be continuously practicing.
I have to cut you off.
You're fine.
You mean to tell me that once upon a time, if I practice, I could be killed for practicing what it is that makes me me. But because I stopped practicing, you don't see me as valid. I like that. That's
your understanding. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and that's
actually, and I'm kind of annoyed and frustrated. How y'all ain't bombed America?
I don't
like how y'all so peaceful not to be like, listen, this is mine. Give me me. If anything, y'all should be the ones talking about go back to your country.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. And there are so many great creators, but like Kaiman on Instagram, I think he's Dine, which is a Western tribe, but he's always making videos about like you're telling me to go back where I came from. Like, I'm from right here. Like, you go back where you came from. But yeah, it like makes my heart rate increase sometimes, because those are like that's the logic that we're dealing with. And people know it's gaslighting in a sorts. It's just infuriating, like you said. So, I mean, we're still working on navigating through that, and still trying to work towards federal recognition. But in the meantime, we're making strides towards other like partnerships and towards trying to reclaim land, even though we're not like federally seen as like a tribal government in the eyes of the U.S. government. But I think I'm optimistic that that'll happen, and regardless, we know who we are. So
recently, what's her name? Deborah Halal?
Yeah. I think it's Deb Holland. Yeah. She was elected into, yes.
Holland was recently I've never even like the interior. I've never even heard of her position before she gained her position. But with her being a Native, what effects could that have for Native tribes?
Yeah, no, her being appointed to that position is so powerful. I think, like, first, for the fact that we're allowing a woman who is also Native to be in that type of position in our U.S. government. And I think that having her perspective will potentially help a lot of tribes, maybe with federal recognition and with different cases that are going on regarding like the kind of like land destruction and land reclamation. So I think that is very powerful, and I'm proud to see her there. And I'm sure that it's not going to be without struggle, because many things need a vote, even to secure the position after she won. I believe she had to be voted in. I remember that debacle. So we'll see, but I think that it is promising.
Mm-hmm. So this you may not be the right person to answer this question, but as far as like the unity is concerned, the natives, regardless of tribe or regardless of, so there's tribe within tribes, correct?
Tribes within nation.
Nation. Okay. So as tribes and nations, your greatest enemy is the United States. And so I'm wondering why tribes have not squashed like any and all what we feel we might be wrestling with, or you made mention to earlier, like there's a lot of political things that are going on, just like other nations. When the United States is your biggest threat and is your biggest enemy when it comes to protective native lands, protected sacred lands, how is it, or why is it, or maybe I'm ignorant because I'm not in that, it's not in my vision,
Mhm.
for you all to come together as one nation, multiple tribes, to say, we together from the east to the west
Mhm.
want what's ours? Like, has that ever happened? Has that been a part of a conversation? As far as here in Massachusetts, is that even a conversation when the state or the federal government is the issue or is the problem? Like, we don't lack land. What we lack is, or what you all lack, is the ability to unify and say, give us us. Like, if I remember correctly, through other conversations that we've had with other guests, you guys are kind of fighting. It's like, we have this set of land. This is the only set of land for native people, and you guys have to figure it out amongst yourself. And so, of course, if there's like only a little piece of bread and all of us are hungry, we're all going to be fighting each other to get some bread to make sure we all eat. But instead of us fighting over this little loaf of bread, there's all this damn land that y'all literally stole from us. Like, I'm wondering why there hasn't been a unification of all tribes into one nation to fight the United States government.
Yeah, I think that this is a really interesting, important stance and conversation. To the best of my knowledge, I have not heard of a cross country or like cross Turtle Island, like what natives call America, union of sorts. I think that I'm now seeing that there's a lot more unity amongst Native people, and especially amongst the younger generation, because even within my tribe, I had people question my heritage at some points because they thought that I was too dark or too black. But I'm making so many friends now with people that are Native from across the country, and I think that there is a lot more. I think that there's just a lot more acceptance now, and I think that is something that could happen, and that's a conversation that I want to have. I think that that would be extremely powerful. I do want to say, and not to, I don't know, not to start drama or say anything that's inflammatory, but it's you're not being ignorant at all. I think that from the outside looking in and from being on the inside, it makes sense to be like, why don't we fight the system that's oppressing us or the system that we're just trying to work with? Who are the ones that stole our land. And I think that so many people or different tribes feel that reclaiming just their pieces of land are important. And they're willing to do that within the system that's already in place and willing to work with that system and benefiting how they can, without kind of helping others along the way. And that's where we see problems. And that's where we run into issues because we're not being unified as just like a native people. And it's not greed in a sense, but it's kind of like we got ours in a sense, and we're going to be like quiet and comfortable.
Fine. How am I going to help a sinking ship if I'm sinking myself? Like, I'm trying to get me and mine's taken care of, and then we could talk about helping you. But first I have to. And the truth of the matter is, we're all one together.
Yeah.
For me, it's all of the blacks, all of the Asians, all the Latinos, all like everybody with melanin should be fighting the damn system. And I hate that there's division within tribes that are so tiny in comparison
Yes.
to the monolith of United States.
Yeah, it's really like we need to working on setting that aside and realizing that we need to be on the same team. But like I said, I think that that's happening. I see so much acceptance, like with people my age and people that are like of this like kind of generation.
The elders, hard-headed elders.
Some of them are amazing, but some people, like have some different ways, and have, I don't know, different feuds or different things that they're still holding on to, and that needs to be let go of for sure.
And you said some of them think that I'm too dark, but yet the originals were darker than you.
Yeah, it's colorism for you. It's really wild. And it can be so difficult just to navigate personally. I mean, there's another great Afro-Indigenous woman on TikTok and on Instagram. Her name is Inyoni, and she's from California tribes in Southern California. But she was talking about how it can be so not hurtful, but it can just be such an unwarranted comment to when people that are white or people that are not like Afro-Indigenous are asking about like, why don't we know about your Black heritage? Like, why are you only claiming this one? And people not understanding that kind of lineage and heritage was intentionally taken away from us, and they wanted to hide that and make it unknown. So it can be difficult to navigate both, and having to explain that to even like members of family is so frustrating at times. But I don't know. I think that retelling the story and kind of keeping it ingrained for myself makes me a bit stronger. So.
Can you just drop some facts and some knowledge for those who may not understand or may not know or just don't even follow you on your social medias?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, like from this conversation, we've been talking about Blackness and indigeneity, and just understanding that the U.S. was colonized, that the original people of the Americas were really like erased. They tried to erase us all. They didn't quite do that. But just the fact that the natives really did try to, given the fact that people stormed their land, they did react quite peacefully and tried to work things out with the white man, really tried to have agreements, and people and the settlers turned on them. And if you don't know about Thanksgiving, what you know is probably not true. And my tribe, I'm the Chappaquiddick Wampanoag, the Mashpee Wampanoag, welcomed the first settlers for that Thanksgiving. And they were then, their thanks for that was getting infected with smallpox and trying to completely kill them out. And many natives died, and they kind of like partitioned them on something called Deer Island, which is up by Boston actually. And it's like one of the biggest kind of like native grave sites. So just understanding what land you're on, knowing that natives are really the best stewards of the land, and thinking really even today, recently, I don't know if you remember last year with the California fires, kind of during the summer, like fall time, they didn't really know, like even firefighters did not know how to contain those. And they called upon the natives of that region to try to teach them how to contain those fires, because natives, long before settlers came and colonized, they had practices with the land, whether it was farming, gardening, or whether it was kind of like doing ritual burnings that would keep the land in check. And those hadn't happened. They didn't subscribe to that. The colonizers didn't. And we're seeing so much destruction because of that, and realizing that what colonizers came to do and say was so progressive, and that the natives weren't progressive enough with how they were operating, has not worked. And I think that we can see that where we're at now, we need to listen to the people that are original to this land. And I think slowly people are gaining an awareness. People are wanting to have those conversations. People are wanting to learn. So I think that taking some time to learn whose land you're on, taking some time to learn like how to properly respect or have different ceremony and different aspects of life is kind of a way to go.
So what did the natives do? What was it that they did in order to control
I actually don't know. I need to read up on that more, but I know that they were just like helping to like say what parts to put out and like what parts to burn, and then in the future like how to properly control that, or like how periodically land should be burned or like kept unkept, so that massive fires didn't spread like this in the future.
I'm interested. When you find that out, please share with us.
I will.
Share with us. What else? So, we talk all the time about happy Pilgrims Kill the Indian Days. We don't say happy Thanksgiving because what are we thankful for? So it's happy Pilgrims Kill the Indian Days, or sadness, however you want to subscribe. But what are some other facts?
Sure. There's actually an interesting, or I think is interesting, and some people I think did, but talking specifically about Martha's Vineyard. So when the land was originally divided, when they came, of course, natives got like the land that was the least fertile, like just kind of like bad garbage. And as time went on, some of the families were able to keep lands in different lots and had like small parcels on the vineyard. And even as recent as the 1980s, there's a book that I have through my mom, and she learned about it. But because of racism and because of people not being able to or being comfortable on the island and moving for those and other reasons, a lot of people that were white on the island saw that there was land that was unoccupied. And they were like, well, we kind of want that. And people aren't on it. And so the Massachusetts land laws, which are, of course, kind of tailored and written for victors, state that you can claim and switch a title if you like put in that you want that piece of land, put a notice in the paper for 10 days, and then you, if nobody responds, you can claim it. And I mean, you might just have to pay a small attorney fee. Some people only paid $1, like $1 for land on Chappaquiddick, land on Martha's Vineyard. And they got it because nobody responded to a local paper notice when they were not living where that local paper was. So people came back and realized that land was gone. Many families like lost the parcels that they had, but that was recent, and that happened when it was like 30, 40 years ago.
And what are people doing to get their land back? Because had that been me, your house would have been on fire.
Yeah.
California at your house. Like I don't understand why the peacefulness.
The audacity.
Go to the courts and let the courts deal with this. For what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think some people tried or had the idea to go to court, but also court costs money. And technically in the law, like the people that claimed or switched the title followed the laws.
9 cents a gallon, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not understanding why the civility. You all were not civil to me. Why are we being civil?
Mm-hmm.
She said, Taylor, I don't know. You asked me questions. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I know. It's so, I mean, it's admirable, but it's also infuriating because so many people that have colonizer mindset are hiding behind the fact that they're following rules and regulations, but at the same time, they're gaslighting people of color because they know that those rules and regulations are in favor of them. And if they don't, then they're just really ignorant. So
what else do we need to know that we are ignorant of that we should be paying attention to?
There's so much. What else do we need to know? My mind is like spinning right now. I mean, I think we just need to, with regards to, I think just with regards to indigeneity, we need to know that, and we need to ingrain in people that it's not a monolith, because identifying or denying people's heritage or identity continues this kind of pattern of destruction. so to speak. And even I'm a fan, some like the small things we need to ask others to, I don't want to say cancel, because I know that that is a touchy subject. I know that's a touchy phrase, but I think that we need to have people held accountable, and realize that actions can be destructive. Like, I like Real Housewives. I'll say that. That's a thing. That's a show that I subscribe to, and enjoy watching from time to time. But I think 2 nights ago, Real Housewives of Atlanta had like their Halloween something air, and it was a costume party. And one of the women wore a complete, just like native headdress, as her costume. And just realizing that still in 2021, she did that, didn't think twice about it. The producer saw it, didn't think twice about it. They let it air, didn't care. And that so many people are going to see it kind of as a costume and see it as something of the past, versus people that are still presently today practicing like those sacred things and dressing in their sacred dresses, and knowing that only like chiefs or only people that have accomplished certain things have the honor of wearing that type of garment. So taking things like that seriously, I think that that's really important.
So that's news to, I was unaware. And so
Yeah.
I just learned me something. So all of like the feathers are equivalent to having like that, what do it, sergeants, admirals, generals that have
Yeah,
like
it's
all
kind of
those
akin to that.
things.
Yeah.
But yeah, badges. Damn.
Badges.
He was like, badges? So those are like badges of honor when you have all of the. So teach me about that. So, okay, the feathers are like badges. What else?
I mean, I think I would say like feathers, and then just also like regalia and beadwork. I think like each tribe is different, but I know that like different shells, different beading can also be sacred, and can also mean like different things, different like ages, points of your life, what you have accomplished. And like our tribe had wampum. I don't know if you've seen like those like white and purple shells on the shore or just anywhere in Massachusetts, but those
Like
are the quahog shell. Yeah. And
How do they call them again? Say it.
the jewelry is called wampum, WAMPUM, and the shell is a quahog shell, like it's a clam quahog.
Hold on, a quahog?
Yeah, yeah.
So quahog.
Yes, but the jewelry that it's made that is made from it is wampum.
Wampum. So I found that. And how did you pronounce quahog?
I think I said quahog, but I don't know if I have a weird mix of dialects. Like I grew up in the Midwest. I went to high school in Texas, and I'm up here now. But it might be a quahog.
No judgment, but I just want to say it correctly because I've been calling it a quahog.
I think that might be right. I think you're right.
A quahog shell. And I'm just over here doing the little googly thing.
Yeah, you're fine.
For the to understand the different beadworks. Oh. Hold on. I want you, for those that are watching, I want you guys to share too. I want you guys to view too. And for those that are listening, everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre. That is beautiful.
Yeah, and so those are wampum beads. They're really beautiful. They're very time consuming to make. It's something that I actually have an interest in possibly learning, but it's a kind of an art form, and that's the jewel, like that's the bead of our people. And people long ago, like that is a wampum belt, and down below too. And those wampum belts were made for like our sachems and our leaders, and sometimes they took years to make. They would do like handcraft all of these little beads, and many of them are missing now, and some of them are in like museums, and they aren't giving them to Wampanoag people, even though they're kind of sacred items and artifacts. And something else I'll say about
stealing African stuff.
Yeah.
United States then stole the natives and said, we're going to put it in a museum and hold it for you, and we're not going to give you a damn penny for it.
Yep.
Sounds about American.
And something else, I guess, about like jewelry or what people would think are like novelty items, I'll say is that it's important to, like, back to your question of what people should know, to like things like as simple or as dream catchers and the things that we buy just from, like our local like dollar stores or from whatever vendor. Those are very sacred to the Native tradition, and not saying people can't use or buy them, but seeing something that they like, knowing it's of like Native tradition or descent, and just choosing to support and buy from Native vendors goes such a long way. So just if you admire something, if you admire the beadwork or the jewelry of a certain tribe, but like Southwest or anywhere, just research, take the few minutes to research and buy from a Native artisan, because that shows respect and support.
Mm-hmm. You got me. I do have a couple dream catchers.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering if I am over here doing the wrong thing. So I have to go back and see where I purchased them from and see if it was through Native or if it was through somebody who was, what's it called? Appropriation.
Yes.
Who was appropriating. Thank you so much, Kara, can you please, as you learn and grow, can you please share with us what you learned?
Of course.
Because I do feel connected. I feel connected for different reasons, but I do have a lot of respect and wish nothing but, like, I wish the nation would put their foot down and say, you're not drilling, you're not pulling gases, like the whole, what was going on in the Midwest back in 2013 and 14 and the drilling, and like, I still, if we had treaties, I had no idea how the hell we were doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
Because you cannot go to any other nation when you have a treaty and do what we did.
Yep. There's still stuff going on. And this is for the people on air. I promise to have updates if you want to follow me wherever in the future, but I'll connect with you. And there are some things going on with our tribe specifically, and I can't speak publicly about it just yet, but I think I feel connected as well, and would like to say a few things.
Okay, so when white people or Christians, let me be clear, Christians say amen. Those that follow the African tradition say ashe. What do natives say?
Aho.
Aho. And so that is like, what is the definition of aho?
It means like thanks, like so it is, kind of like a final closing of words.
Aho. Are you guys welcoming? Like, if I want to come and like get in what's it called? Not a hoedown, a shindig.
A circle.
No, no. Julian, I feel judged right now. Not a circle. What is it called? And it has now been appropriated and people use it all the time.
But
a what?
A powwow?
Powwow, yes. And so are we non-natives allowed to come to a powwow and engage? And is it disrespectful? Like, I want to come and I want to dress up and I want to dance. Is that disrespectful?
Yeah, no, I would say it's not disrespectful to come. People are, and tribes are generally, and ours are welcoming. And I would say dress in as traditional gear as you can find. I guess like nothing that leaders or sachems or songsters would wear. But yeah, totally welcome to come.
Okay, that's what I heard. I heard that I am welcomed and y'all will dress me when I get there. Kara, thank you so much for your time. We love you. We appreciate you. Waking Up with Tayla Andre, Unorthodox Conversations Leading to Universal Consciousness. Conversations like this are important because you're not going to learn this in school. They didn't teach you in high school, in middle school. And unless you're over there scrolling through the gram, you're going to get a little snippet of it and not fully understand what it is that you just saw. And so we will continue to have these conversations and continue to grow and continue to learn. And I am on the side of the native tribes and nation for them to kick the United States ass, even though I am on the other side. I do recognize all that the harm that we have caused and what we need to do in order to reconcile. So, Kara, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an amazing day. Please give us all of your social medias.
Of course. So I'm at Kara Roselle S, KaraRoselles on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. They're all the same. But I appreciate you, Tayla. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you. We will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I love you. I appreciate you. Everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre. Mwah.